Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Summit 5 qualifiers. We're in the China region. It's VGR facing off against Wings, a best of 5. And I gotta say, we've had some great games already. The Wings gaming came out swinging in game number 1, where they ran a pretty aggressive Drow IO strat. And in game number 2, VG.Reborn were able to outlast the early aggression again that came from Wings. More mid-game, really, I should be honest about it. And they came back with ZYF's Morphling that just ran the town and really impressive play all around. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Scant. Sir, how you feeling? What are you expecting out of this game?
I don't know. It's a pretty unique dynamic that happens in a game where one team's going for early pressure push strategy, the other team is a Morphling. And it is one of those, anytime you have a match like that, even if the Morphlings team wins, the other team will look very far ahead up to a certain point. And it's difficult to gauge, like, were they really that far ahead? How much of it was... At what point were VG.Reborn like super worried? At what point were they like, okay, you know, we're getting there, we're hitting our timings? It certainly felt like Wings did have the better of them for a while. It did feel like they'd be able to close it out for a while, and VGR turned that corner and certainly gives them a momentum advantage, gives them a kind of psychological advantage that they can run a lineup that's not entirely early game orientated against the high tempo way that Wings play and still beat them. That might get a little bit into Wings' head, but I don't know. This time VGR do ban the IO again, but they ban the Beastmaster with it, not banning the Alchemist, and Wings, they'll go for the first pick Bounty Hunter like they did last game. The Alchemist is there, but they didn't, I mean, it's not like they wanted to first pick Alchemist in the first game either. It was VGR who got the Alchemist that time. Wings are just happy to give it away, and for that reason I think they don't need to prioritize it even if they do want to pick it.
Well, and we see the very quick response. VG.Reborn running a very different strategy this time. The Faceless Void and the Phoenix, much more teamfight oriented than last time when we just saw it was basically a 4 protect 1, and the 1 got completely out of control. And now the Ultra Greed, you've talked about this in previous Wings games that we've casted, the double down on it. This is what's the theory behind this for the Wings gaming?
The theory behind this is that it just punishes you, so like the pressure is immediately on VGR to play a very excellent, like, immaculate game, because in a lot of the time in a professional game with Dota 2, everyone's playing really well most of the time, and occasionally there's small slips and mistakes, and if you have a Bounty Hunter and an Alchemist, you're going to be punished much more for your mistakes than on the other team. So each time Wings make a minor mistake, whatever, you know, it's a pick-off or something. When VGR make a mistake, Alchemist has another item, Bounty Hunter gets 2 track kills, your whole team gets rich. Just the gold acceleration items, I feel like, are extremely punishing, more punishing than any other kind of heroes that they are. But at the same time, I do feel like VGR's opening 2 are pretty damn strong. We saw it recently a few days ago. I can't remember which team it was. I think it might have been VGR then as well. In fact, I think it was VGR against Wings. I think it was the first time these teams met and VGR beat them. But they started with the Void and the Phoenix. And I was talking about how they just wanted to guarantee that they can't lose the 5v5s. It's sometimes what teams do when they go against a team that has sort of unpredictable drafting and goes for various types of things is they just go for the basics. Like, okay, let's start with a... Cool, we covered on this. We covered on team fights. Like, now move on to the next thing, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's an interesting style of drafting that FY has ended up going for, and I do like it a lot. The Invoker ban also makes a lot of sense here. You think about already a tremendous amount of team fight. If they wanted to, they could just have gone back for that very dynamic hero. He provides you push, he provides you an ability to delay the game if you want to. I'm kind of curious now what it is that the Wings want to do to round out the rest of their draft, because sometimes we've seen them go back for something like a Beastmaster if they wanted to. It doesn't really feel like they need to... I guess the maximum money build where you have the Bounty Hunter and the Alchemist, you can sometimes even try and itemize to solve other problems that are inherent with your draft by building into some, you know, an Abyssal maybe if you need to on an Alchemist. Do you think there's any chance that they might try and run sort of a double bluff and go back for something along the lines of a Huskar or some other way to get aggressive early, or is that not really in the cards?
They might have if they had the Dazzle, and I was about to say the next hero that's probably on their priority list is the Dazzle, which is funny because typically a team wouldn't prioritize Dazzle when they have a Bounty Hunter. It's like not the most natural support combination, but VGR banned the Dazzle because they recognize this is like the preferred support, other than maybe the IO for wings at the moment. It's the one that's been the most punishing. It did a lot of work in the previous game. And so that's out of the question, and that makes it, for me, I think it's very unlikely that we see another Huskar pick with both the Dazzle and the IO out. I think it needs the kind of supporting cost to go with it.
Yeah, I would agree, and that does seem to be what they were aware that that was a problem. They take it out of the pool. Slark is also going to be banned, another one of those heroes that can just take over a game if given the space. It's interesting to me also that the dynamic of taking the Slark out of the pool when the Void is there. It's kind of in the same lines as how we saw the Sven in the Faceless Void work before, where you would run a hero that you keep the rest of the side Chronosphere, and then you just focus on one. You start building up those Essence Shift stacks, and then you find a kill afterwards. But DK is going to be the pick for VG.Reborn, and now having a little bit of push added to their arsenal.
I mean, those are literally the Slarker and Invoker ban. When Wings played against VG last time and they started Void's Phoenix, then they took Slark and Invoker as the other two cores. So Wings are just like, we remember this draft. You're going to have to do something different this time. Dragonite's still a solid hero, but I think it makes sense. I think, if in the absence of... It's an interesting methodology for drafting. If there's lots of options they can go, lots of routes they can go, why not just stop them from going the one they went before, making them at least sure that they can do a different one? And Wings go back for the Venge, which I think might be their next favorite support. Maybe the Witch Doctor or the Crystal Maiden, but I think it is the Venge after the Io and the Dazzle. It's also kind of got that saving potential. A little bit more aggressive as well in terms of making kills, being able to roam, but it's got the saving potential to swap out in addition to that.
Yeah, and if they wanted to, also they could end up taking this back and, just it threatens a lot of things. You've got the damage amplification, the ability to try and take a Roshan, always being able to pull somebody immediately out of the team fight and then burst through them with the Alchemist. That's another great way to make that work. So I like this pick a lot. Now, when they do tend to run this, Alchemist is always played in the mid role, right? There's never any safe lane shenanigans out of him.
Yeah. Also, by the way, the Venge was the last pick in VGR's draft. That previous time they beat Wings, they literally was Void Phoenix, Invoker Slark Venge. And so Wings are like, okay, we see your opener, and we're going to get rid of all the other picks. And your draft will be entirely different this time. So VGR are going to need a different support to what they had that time. They're also going to need a different carry. Slark did very well in that game, if I remember. It was near impossible to control. That was a game that went pretty poorly for... That was the Ember Spirit game, where they had a DP and an Ember Spirit, and the DP had a tough start, and it was kind of all on the Ember Spirits, and he couldn't just do enough. Disruptor, the pickup for VGR, which is very popular support recently. It can combine pretty nicely with the Faceless Void, the AoE. It's just useful for being aggressive and chasing. Kind of good against Bounty Hunter in some ways, because often Bounty Hunter, you see him and then he sneaks away, and if you can pull him back, that can punish him.
Yeah, you sometimes see the Bounty Hunter get out of the range of a Sentry or something, but if you catch him with the Dust and you have that Thunderstrike, obviously you're going to be able to pull him back. It's also great, I think, against the Alchemists in general, because you can force an engagement that you otherwise might not be able to, and just keeping that Alchemist hemmed in and under control in one spot, it's really important for being able to find particularly those earlier kills. And with the Sunray being able to get thrown out as well, you probably are going to be able to find him. If you get a nice rotation in towards the mid lane, you wouldn't even need to necessarily throw out that Chronosphere. But Clinks is going to be the answer for Wings. Very interesting. Very high damage hero.
It's a safe lane carry that we've seen quite a lot when teams pick Alchemist. In particular, I think of IG. IG really likes to run this combination with Ferrari on the Alchemist and QD on the Clinks. And it's just, the Clinks can get active quite early and can space create for the Alchemist. And Alchemist is a hero that, ultimately, I mean, Wings, the last time we saw him playing Alchemist was like a support hero to just buy Ags for Huskar. But usually Alchemist is kind of this hero that, if enough space is made for it early on, it just almost automatically wins the game. We saw VGR run the Alchemist in the first game of the series, and that wasn't the case. The Alchemist, he got to Radiance, but it was kind of he was from behind getting to Radiance and couldn't farm. If you buy enough space early on for the Alchemist to get to the Radiance and be ahead and then just go farm, it's super difficult to deal with the hero. It can get totally out of control. We did talk about the bouncy Elk start. That's kind of what it signifies. This draft is about greed. This draft is about... Well, not even greed, it's about the financials. It's about, This is an economic draft. It's just making sure they get better value.
What I'm wondering now, what is it that they're going to end up going back for here? Do we see a bit more of the team fight out of Wings, maybe picking up something along the lines of a Darkseer, opting to maybe try and... I mean, Tidehunter's already been banned out, so one of the other predominant heroes of the off-lane patch, but I kind of feel like they need something that allows them to actually fight. Or maybe they just go all out split push again and take the Nature's Prophet. It's definitely
I think it's the Slaughter. I think it's the Slaughter. The Slaughter is like one of their favored offlaners. And with the minus armor from Venge and Alchemist and Slaughter all together, plus Klinks is going to probably get Medallion Desolator. It would be pretty insane minus armor against the Dragon Knight, who is used to being tanky. It's good at fighting early on. Could probably handle itself in the lane. Goes quite nicely with the Bounty Hunter if it roams into the lane. But it's not the Slaughter. He's wearing a mask. It's actually the Necrophos. Surprise. I don't know, like, in what world anyone could have predicted this pick, because, is this an offlane Necrophos? Is Necrophos a hero that can offlane?
10 seconds remaining.
Is it an offlane Klinks? Is that the plan?
I was wondering. I guess that's that's what they have to do. And then the last pick, Terrorblade, too. So, okay, I really don't know what we're going to end up seeing. Obviously, ZYF's going to be playing the Terrorblade. The Wings Gaming are waiting to decide who it is that they want to try and take with this last one.
We talk about the pushing cores, the Lone Druid and the Lycan and the Dragon Knight, and those. We don't often talk about the Terrorblade, but it's actually in the same category. And so this is... VGR do have the double pushing core lineup. They're going to try and apply that pressure and not allow Alchemist the time to farm.
It's an offlane Alch.
Offlane Alchemist?
I think this is going to be a mid Necrophos. It's ice.
Support Alchemist?
Oh my god. So a core Venge? A core Bounty Hunter? No. Okay, Shadow Klinks. Faith Beyond's playing the Bounty.
Offlane Bounty.
5 seconds remaining.
Just when you think you've figured them out, they throw you another cup. This is like, they're absolutely guaranteed to
Iron Talon.
do something clever and sneaky in their draft every single time. Is it going to work out? I don't know, but...
Iron Talon Alchemist. He's going to be just 4-position, farming away. I'm going to reconnect real quickly while we just stay on this goofy bastard. My God, Alchemist. I can't believe that they're ended up running this in the 4-position jungling role.
I have seen this in a pub. In fact, I got pretty disappointed when my teammates picked Alchemist and bought Iron Talon and went to jungle, and then he won me the game.
Okay.
So it's like... It's not something to be joked about. It actually does pose a pretty big threat. And we talk about the financial threat. This is like... Usually when a team runs a jungler and you're not getting a trade-off, that's bad. When the team runs a jungler and it's an Alchemist and you're not getting a trade-off, that's very, very bad. So there's pressure on VGR to like get quite a lot of value out of their lane stage. And they don't have the opportunity with their supports being Phoenix and Disruptor. They can't just be like, okay, well, one of you gets a jungle. And even if they could, they wouldn't get the farm rate of the Alchemist. So there's very real pressure on VGR to get good value in lanes, and that's not going to be the easiest thing to do. I mean, off-lane Bounty Hunter is a pretty difficult hero to punish that much. Like, worst case scenario, he gets a couple of levels and starts being a roaming Bounty Hunter. They might kill him once or twice, but I actually think it's pretty clever to run the jungle Alchemist in this game. These are words that I never thought I'd be saying, but I think it's a smart pickup.
And he gets the bounty rune too, so gonna bringing himself out a stout shield and a salve to make sure that he gets it. Really, really interesting. Again, and you talked about this, the Wings Gaming, a team that are not afraid to run what they feel like is going to be good in this particular game. Necro against the DK. This is I'm not sure exactly how to feel about this matchup. I mean, he's got a little bit better base damage than the DK with just the Quelling Blade though on him, so last scene might be a little bit more difficult. Oh my god, I might need to try and do one more reconnect, see if that's going to fix it. Would you care to do a little bit more Radio Dota real quick?
I mean, Necro, almost every lane with the DK involved is just both players farm. That's like, there's some lanes where the person against the DK can't farm, but I think the Necro is going to be fine here. I think they'll both farm, and maybe one of them will get a slight edge. Maybe the Necro get a little bit ahead, but I don't think it's going to be a terribly exciting lane. I'm wondering if the Alchemist is going to rush an Ags for his Necro in this game.
Oh my god. That's the dream. That's the dream.
Because that's
right
like, we're talking about, we had a discussion about if we should call things cheese or not, but certainly based on typically the way people use the term cheese. But running a jungle ult to buy an Axe for a Necro, that would be like the ultimate. Early on in the game, getting those scythe kills where they just can't do anything. I suspect it won't be as bold to go straight into it, but I think that's part of the plan. I think it's not a coincidence that they have a jungle ult in the same game they have a Necro. So I think ult gets 1 or 2 items and then probably does go into the Axe for the Necro.
Well, and you're seeing that he's going to end up being really efficient with this farming. He's already got his boots up and ready to go, and Iron Talon there, they are going to try and chase down Innocence a little bit more in the top lane. But again, there's no pressure on him, so stacking camps, making things happen with the acid spray, you can't really hope for a whole lot more than that for the Alchemist, and why not? He's doing a great job of it.
Yeah, again, like I said from the start, there's no hero on the enemy team that can do something greedy in the jungle. So in terms of getting a trade-off for having the Ult in the jungler, they just need to be dominating lane. They're trying to kill Faith Beyond. They've tried already. This is the 3rd time, I think, and they finally will get him here with the glimpse back. He should be going down.
I'm trying to go for the jukes, but no luck, and they do end up finding that one. So, yeah, well done. Again, he's getting a lot here. You can see. Oh, never mind. He's actually not level 2 yet. So he's not getting a ton, but he got some experience there, and they did force out a good amount of reveal to get that kill.
The thing is, he's a bounty hunter, so it's like, even I know he's not a support, but even offlane bounty hunter doesn't mind that much being shut down. The point is just to get a sort of decent-ish timing on your track. That's your job in this game. The difficult part of this game for Wings is going to come when, after the lane stage, the pushing starts to happen with the Terrorblade and the Dragon Knights, and the team fight that they threaten with the pushing, with the Chronosphere and the Supernova and the Static Storm. Like, that's something that Wings need to... the Clinks, in particular, I think is going to have a lot of work to do coming out of the lane stage to disrupt the timings of VGR. Just a few pickoffs here and there, and suddenly Wings could look really good. But if VGR get to assemble their timings and just go for those kind of group up, take objectives, threaten the team fight situation, I think that stage of the game could be very difficult for Wings.
We'll see if they're going to be able to sort of power through that, because again, yeah, they don't have a whole lot that's going to come out right off the bat. And you did just see Alchemist there. Unfortunately, he ended up losing a bit of gold from that rotation. Actually, he's going to smoke gank up.
Yep.
All right, gank top, why not? He's got his stun. Come at me. Let's do it, Yang.
They can make this kill if they get a long duration stun plus the vanish stun with the Searing Arrows damage. They definitely can get it, and this is classic support. Alchemist was actually more about roaming than farming. It's just Iron Talon that's made you have the option to farm.
Well, they end up going back again. They realize...
They're going to go now. Time Walk's used. They're going to go right now.
Oh, looking for it. They end up starting to get the gun. Oh, really good decision making there. Yang realizing what was going to happen, and they don't end up being able to find the kill. Faith Beyond's going to try and soak up a little bit more farm here in the off lane, and FY spots him out. Dust is available as well as a Sentry Ward, but it looks like they're going to not be able to do a whole lot to stop him. It's worth noting, though, that we do have the Necrophos almost doubling up the DK in terms of the farm here.
Yep. So if there was going to be an advantage, it makes sense that it would be the Necro.
Oh, God.
I think DK is going to be fine anyway.
They're going to end up glimpsing back Faith Beyond, and he is going to die here. So the Venge gets away. They pull the creep wave back to the tower, so it's going to be a little bit less easy for them. They're still going to be able to take the tier 1, no problem. Mid lane, the rotation comes in. Alchemist throws his stun from afar, but not able to find the kill.
I think, by the way, the reason Yang was able to survive, I think his ward might have seen the smoke. Because if you remember, the Alchemist smoked like around here, and it was daytime then, so I think actually Yang had that information. I mean, not a big deal. He still did to dodge the gank, and so far the Alchemist rotations haven't really worked out, so he's going to go back to farming.
Why not? Let's go get some more gold. We're an Alchemist. We're happy. He has 16 last hits, but still is 5th in terms of net worth. It's a pretty great start for him already, and I guess it's about the same in terms of his last hitting on the leaderboard, but doing a good job of it. As far as what he's going to be looking for, do you think it's worth it for him to try and build into an Aghanim Scepter and head that over?
Nice. I don't think he rushes it. I certainly think he builds some early combat-oriented items. Historically, the support Alchemist build would be something like Solar Crest and Blink, and then maybe go for the Ags. But speaking of him, he's going to get caught out here. He's definitely going to die. And this might be... I'm a little bit worried for Wings, if I'm totally honest. I'm a little bit worried about the amount of work Clinks is going to have to do to put them through the next 10 minutes of the game. We did see a draft It was game 1 against VGR in the previous time that they played against them, where they had. Do you remember they had Naga, Siren, Ricky, Axe? They had, and that draft ended up being like, occasionally wins they're like almost too creative and they put too much on their own plates and it just doesn't work out. And I'm feeling like that this might be one of those games where the creativity got the best of them and it ends up being a flop, unless this Clinks can make a lot of space, because I think the next 10 minutes of the game is going to be one-way traffic favoring VGR in a very big way.
But I guess, do you think they're going to be able to find like objectives off of that, or do you think it's just going to be like team fights snowballing them ahead and causing Wings to be in a really big deficit? We're seeing 3-0 start, but VGR is only ahead by about 1,500 gold and around 600 experience.
So Wings obviously don't want to fight. I mean, I think their team fight will be really outmatched at this moment, and even the Phoenix is almost level 6. So the plan for VGR will probably be to push for the objectives and say, well, if you want to defend, we'll fight you and beat you. Mm-hmm. And that for me is the difficulty, because I don't think Wings don't have a way to split push when they're being pushed that effectively, and they also don't really have a way to take those fights. So it just feels like a matter of time where before VGR decide, okay, time to push another tower, and when they claim a tower, they'll just get it.
Yeah, that is something that they're going to need to be careful about. I mean, they still have Ice here, who's getting a relative free time in the jungle. He did end up going for 2 in the stun, so was a bit more about the fighting potential. I guess that it's going to allow them to at least not get completely rolled over, maybe, as again, you're expecting that push to start to come, but I don't think that the 2 points in the stun is going to allow him to farm or to fight, whereas maybe more in the gold might have been able to allow him to accelerate. Shadow top lane, he's just going to get brought down. Again, no great response to this one. They brought in the Necrophos, but with just Innocence and Necrophos, there's no way they can fight this, even with Chronosphere used.
Yeah, they should actually leave. I think they should leave the tower. This Venge is gonna die if he gets found out, or maybe just the Necro.
Oh my god, dropping pretty low. He is gonna end up dropping the Supernova as well, and oh wow. This is a problem for Wings. Another quick kill, 3 dead, and oh man.
We saw a very similar thing last game. Do you remember when Wings were pushing this exact tower? And I was saying VGR, I'm not sure how they defend this. They tried to defend, they just lost heroes, and it's the same thing here. Like, it should be telegraphed that you can't actually defend that tower, but they decide to hang around and they pay the price. At the same time, Terrorblade is taking down the mid tower. Alchemist coming in with a stun, but he's there on his own. The Dragon Knight's here as well. Both the Dragon Knight and the Terrorblade. The tower's gonna die.
God. Oh, this is terrifying. The Terrorblade, a really good pick here, and ZYF is gonna be able to do a lot of damage to this. There's no great response with the Metamorphosis coming out, and my man. Whew.
Yeah, it really is feeling more and more like a game where Wings kind of outthought themselves. They tried to get a bit too clever, and it's certainly, there's potential for them if they like get a few good players, a few good kills, win a fight, something like that. Remember, like, we mustn't underestimate the effect of the Bounty Hunter and the Alchemist.
Yeah.
The impact that they have in terms of the gold swing when things do go well for their team. But as to how those things are meant to go well, not so clear. And it's going to be another smoke. This Vengeful Spirit doesn't even have boots yet, by the way. Up to level 5, which is pretty good, but they need to get a Scythe kill here. I mean, Scythe kills also, by the way. So I'm talking about cheating gold with Track and Grievel's Greed. Necrophos is another hero that kind of cheats the game. When you Scythe kill people, even without bags, they just take so long to respawn. It's a financial win that way.
Oh, the stun is going to go through. Can they find him, though? Not quite in range, and Yang is going to have another time walk up. He should be able to get out of there. They don't have anything to stop this. Well, maybe, possibly. No, he's out. The 4-man rotation. 5 heroes up near where their tier 1 tower was, and they don't get anything for it. Bounty Hunter has 6, but again, you talk about the ability for them to find kills, or rather to accelerate and farm. I feel like that's predicated on them being able to get a kill. They need to get track kills, and right now it's 6-0 with no great way for them to find a kill.
Yep, that's what it's like. The Alchemist getting more farm depends on them making space and kills. The Scythe delaying their farm depends on them making kills. Same with the Track. So that's why they go for that smoke gank there. And it would be pretty significant if they did make the kill. But they didn't. It was a difficult kill to make, and I don't know. It's not gonna be that long before VGR say time for tier 2s.
Yeah,
Could be right now, actually, at this bottom lane, to be honest.
there's not a whole lot dissuading them from going for it. And again, DDC being here on the Disruptor, a hero that's just so great in these types of situations, because if you TP in, all of a sudden you're going to still be taking the fight 4-on-5. So I mean, I don't even think that Wings can win a fight 5-on-5, let alone 4-on-5. FY is here with the Supernova ready to go and 4 points in the Sunray. Honestly, if they want to, you could just end up going for high ground. There's nothing really stopping them at this point. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, it's a real big problem. Like, the Klinks is probably the strongest hero on his team to make space right now, but Klinks usually makes space by picking people off, and if VGR's plan is to group up and push, it just naturally counters what the Klinks does in terms of space creation, and it makes it very, very difficult for Wings.
One good thing you can't say, though, is they've got good vision. Like, you look at this, they've been able to keep good eyes on things, and they're going to try and find Yang. They get the stun out, swap into it. Nicely played there. They've got the track gold as well, and they find the kill. Very necessary. Vengeful Spirit picked it up, but still, she got her boots now.
Yeah. Well executed kill. 4 heroes there, getting extra track gold. Too bad the Necro wasn't there to also get the scythe off and force him to stay dead for another 30 seconds, but, you know, they'll take it. And really, it's funny because this dynamic is almost an inversion of last game's dynamic, but in a totally different way. Last game, Wings applying pressure early, but they have to deal with the Morphling, and if it gets strong, they're in trouble. And this game, it's not about a particular hero getting strong, but it is VGR applying pressure, and if they do make mistakes, there'll be a very gigantic swing because of the Necro and the Ulk and the Bouncy Answer. So there's some sense of maybe apprehension for VGR. I think they can be very confident that with the heroes they have, it's quite easy to group up and get towers, but there's just a sense that if they screw something up, they really can be punished for it.
Totally, and I guess that I would say I still would rather have in the late game the terrible. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was going to say I'd rather have the Terrorblade and the DK late stages, but thinking more about Alk and being able to get out Aghanim Scepter upgrades. Is there really anything here that you'd really want? I guess the Necrophos and Vengeful Spirit, but that's it. So that's not really as big of a concern.
I mean, Necro Ags is a game-winning item, but I do agree. It's not like VGR just lose in the late game. Where they lose is if they lose a few fights in the gold feed goes away.
This could be where they lose. Yeah, Ice is. Oh, get the suicide! Fancy.
I mean, that's just lucky, right? he didn't.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's the most skill required in the game, but yeah,
he predicted exactly what HP he'd be on a few seconds down the line and planned that stun perfectly.
No Chronosphere used either, so they've got this for this high ground push, which is coming at the 14-minute mark, and just no great way to stop it. Look at the damage coming out. They do have the track that's going to be there and starting to bounce around on the 3 heroes. They glimpse one back, so not going to be there to defend. This is actually no Necrophos in this fight.
This is
a huge problem, and Shadow's going to end up falling. They have the Chronosphere, just going to walk into it as well. There's no great way for him to stop it anyways, and Vengeance throws out the stun, making something happen possibly, but it actually just hit his illusions, and now the easy peasy walk away.
I mean, this is like the exact analysis we're giving right now. The best thing going for Wings in this game is that they've got a lot that they can do to punish mistakes. That's, you know, like yeah, okay, just calling GG. I think they just recognize that like I mean I think it's kind of mature of them to recognize, look, we goofed, we screwed up this time. The draft is just it's really a losing draft. They tried to be next level, they tried to be very clever, and they outsmarted themselves. Honestly, they completely outsmarted themselves, made it easy for VGR to win the game.
Well, that was not what I was expecting out of a game number 3, to say the very least. VG.Reborn just get handed a free one, and we'll see what they end up doing in game number 4 here. Again, a best of 5. The winner of this series ends up moving on to the summit. They're going to be in LA, where all those woo-woo sounds are coming from that song that you're going to be hearing in a couple of minutes. Again, any final thought? We're just going to move on to game number 4. Thank you guys for watching, and again, keep following us. We'll be back in a second.